What is going on, guys? Ryan here with the Dent Digest live show, episode number 18. I've got a special guest with me this week, Mr. Daniel Grom. What's up, Dan?
Hey, how's it going,
How is
guys?
So it's good in the hood. I reached out to Dan. We got to spend a little bit of time at Anson and told him, what my plan was with this show and what we were going to do. And we actually used this hotel room for the one that was live at Anson.
Yeah, that was fun.
So it was a good time. A
Yeah.
couple tools. Got to show off. What was it? Don's new handle. I was actually supposed to have one today. Chad sent me a package today, and it didn't. Now it's coming tomorrow. So,
Dude, I'm using that thing every single day. That is, it's in the name. Aha. It really is a fantastic tool because you can stick it on any tool you have. It's modular and it just fits on anything. And when you use it and you see how much leverage you have, you're not cranking on, you're not using your body anymore. You're using that leverage. And it makes all the difference in the world for sure.
Definitely. I had one at Anson and I actually ended up giving it to Mike Toledo. So, at Craig's house. So I haven't had one, but
that's your own
really
fault,
useful.
man. You should have known better to do that.
You know what? It's okay. Both those guys are my friends, so it's all good.
Yeah.
He's got a little bigger following than me.
Oh, but see, I'd rather see him be in pain of not getting a tool. That brings me joy. Especially if I have it and I can say,
Of course.
Yeah.
So let's get into your backstory a little bit. I had quite a few questions come in this week when I started posting the thumbnail. When and how did you get into paintless dent repair?
I was a car salesman. I was working on a car lot. I was working on a Mitsubishi lot, and I'd been doing that for several years, and I was pretty tired of it. And I used to go out and watch the upholstery guys. I made friends with the upholstery guys and the paint touch-up guys, and I used to just go out there and just chat them up and ask them questions, and I admire them. I'm like, you guys get to come to work with your shorts on, and man, and I'm wearing a friggin' tie and long sleeve shirt, and you guys are wearing t-shirts, and I was like envious. And then one day I sold a car with a dent in it, and I asked my sales manager, what do I do? And he says, call that Dent Wizard guy. And I go, okay. So I called him up. I go, yeah, I need you to come take a dent out. And he goes, well, I'm about a week out. I go, really? Okay. Yeah. So I set up an appointment. He came in, Dent Wizard came in, and he walked in, I pointed to the car, walked over there. 20 minutes later, came in and handed me a bill for $120. And I looked down at my watch and I was like, that was 15, 20 minutes at the most. And I started doing the math in my head real quick. And I'm like, light bulb goes off. And the first thing I do is I walk out, and the paint touch guys are out there on the lot. And I go, hey, what do you guys know about? First I called up Dent Wizard. I go, I want to buy a franchise, right? And they said $250,000. And I go, thank you very much. See you later. And hung up the phone. And then I walked out to the paint touch-up guys, and I said, hey, what do you guys know about paintless dent removal? And they go, well, we were going to do that before we started doing paint touch-up, but we thought paint touch-up was going to be more profitable. And I went, okay, perfect. And he goes, but we did do a lot of research, and we found this company down in Los Gatos, which is down San Jose area. Mm-hmm. And he handed me the brochure he had. And it was that easy. I called up those guys, went down and met them. And there are a couple guys from the Midwest. And they go, my trainings, it was about $8,900 with tools and 1 month of training. And Mike was the trainer, and he's the same guy that trained Craig at Anson.
Oh, really?
And him and Craig are good friends. And it was a great training facility. He gave me great tools. I mean, did it right. And I didn't know how lucky I was until much later, how good his training was, and I could have gone so many other places that I would have failed probably. But I remember I remember being in the training for about 2 weeks, and I remember him coming up to me and looking over my shoulder, looking at my work, and he goes, buddy, I don't know if you're going to get this. And that's exactly what I needed to hear. I needed to hear that. And I was like, I tried even harder. That just spurred me on. So, and he got interviewed in Car and Driver called him up.
Really?
He did an interview. Yeah.
He's
and,
an old school dent guy.
Yeah.
He's been around.
And oh yeah. And then Car and Driver did an article on him, and he got a bunch of calls, and he got a call from a guy that had a dent, and he was up where I lived. And so when I graduated, I had a job all set up, my first job. And I went up and did my first job in the gutter on the street. I was literally laying in the gutter. It was a dent on the lower part of a car, and I'm literally laying in the gutter taking this dent out. And I made $100 that first dent. And I vowed that day that I would never make less than that a day. I didn't care if I had to work until midnight to get that $100, but that was the promise I made myself, and I kept it. And I've kept it throughout my whole career. I've never made less than $100 in one day. So, and that was my story. And then, when I'm laying in the gutter, all of a sudden I see the shadow of somebody watching me, right? And I look up and I go, "Yeah, can I help you?" He goes, "What you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm fixing the dent." And he's like, "Oh, hi, I own the body shop down the street. Why don't you come see me after you're done?" I said, "Yes, sir." And I get done with the job, and then there was my second job and my first body shop, and started doing dents from him. And that's how I started. Yep.
Now, when did you, and I don't know if everybody's seen it, your shop, for me, I'm a big car guy, big hot rod guy. That shop, it looks awesome. Your shop that you're in right now. And I remember having this conversation, I think it was at Anson, and that's not your first shop, correct? You had another location or a couple locations before?
Yeah, this is my third shop. But I purchased this building in '97, and that was right when I bought, right before we had the downturn in the economy. Mm-hmm. And the timing was good and bad. I was buying at the right time, and I did a bunch of research, and I found out they were doing a bunch of planning in this area around me, and it paid off in the long run. But I also got the building fairly inexpensive for our area, but I'm right next to a mall and across the street from the freeway. So I got freeway exposure. And when they tell you location, 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 I'm huge. Absolutely huge on that. You know, guys out there, if you're going to buy a shop, pay the extra rent, because that extra rent that you're paying pays off in less advertising you have to do. Yeah. And especially if you're next to a mall, for what we do, we get a lot of waiters, and if they can walk to a destination to get something to eat or keep them busy shopping, that is huge. So guys out there, if you're looking for a shop, make that a priority. Don't get on the beaten path, because the friends that I talk to that have shops that are off the beaten path, they're struggling with how to advertise all the time, you know?
And the mall definitely helps. I mean, you get you know, people that want to go take a walk, go to a store while they're, you know, that's a huge perk.
Yeah. Huge perk. And I also rent out half my building to one of the best detailers in the area. So I capture all of his clients. And honestly, when freeway is going, the drivers are going by, it looks like a car show out in front. Right now, I've got a Bentley 64 wagon. I've got an Aston Martin in our parking lot. So it always looks like a car show. So it brings everybody's eyes to us. So that's a big deal. And if you look at my shop, I'm not one of those pretty boy, clean, pristine shop. I'm more of a blue collar, grinder and you know, kind of shop. I've got a lot of stuff going on, and it's not all clean and pristine.
It reminds me of an old service station.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just has that look.
Yeah, I've collected a lot of stuff over the years. I started collecting before all those TV shows came out, and you know, I couldn't buy this stuff now. I mean, it's so expensive. I paid pennies on the dollar for the stuff that I have. You know, so that makes a difference.
And a lot of these guys, there's a lot of new guys in here. I don't know if they know, but you are the king of motorcycle tanks. You are the motorcycle guy. I tell customers all the time, because there's some guys that bring some stuff, and I'm like, there's no way. I just don't do enough of them to get good at it. And I'm like, I know a guy, and he's the best around, but you have to send it to California.
Yeah,
and
I
he's got a
appreciate
waiting
that.
list. You know. But how did the whole motorcycle thing come into your business, and you've kind of run with it?
Well, it actually goes back to when I bought the building, because I bought the building in 07, and then all of a sudden we had a downturn in the economy. So I spent my life savings on this building, and then all of a sudden the economy just went to crap, and I started freaking out. I'm like, shit, I need another revenue stream. You know, what am I going to do here? And my very first shop, I was across the street from a Harley dealer. And I remember telling myself, man, if I could figure out how to take dents out of motorcycle tanks, I'd be a millionaire, is what I thought. That's not true, but
what's going on?
And because guys would bring me tanks all the time, and I'd just say, no. And I just happened to have a guy brought in a Ducati tank and had it off the bike. And it was a fuel injected model, so it had a large opening on top, and it was a nice soft dent. And I'm like, yeah, I should be able to take this out. And I strapped it down to a table. And what I realized is I was trying to fix, the other times I tried to fix a bike, a dent on the bike, it had too much movement, because they're mounted with rubber grommets to vibrate with the engine. And that movement, it's like almost working like on a fender. Have you ever went to a body shop and they have a fender half off and they don't have it attached in one spot, and you're trying to work on it and it's just moving too much and you don't get nowhere. You just don't. And it's kind of like that situation. And when I had it strapped down, I'm like, wait a second. So how do I make a jig that will hold the tank and let me work on it? So I went and got a drill press, and I took the drill off, and it had a table that was height adjustment, and it also rotated. So I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I can rotate this thing. And that gave me the idea for the stand. And then I went to an engineer and talked to him, and he introduced me to some of the T-slot stuff. Mm-hmm. And he goes, can you use this? And I go, well, let me find out. And he sent me home with a bunch of it to play with. And what I realized, it was like an erector set that I could build off of. And then I started building accessories to fit on it. And I started asking for motorcycle tanks. And every time I got one in, I had to figure out how to mount it and what I needed to do. And the more and more I did, so it took me about 2 years of doing a lot of tanks, and I did them really cheap. Just so I could capture the work, and trying to figure out every scenario I could as much as possible, and what would meet the masses to bring it to market as a tool to sell to other dent guys. So that's how I got started.
Now, my good question is, on front fenders, would you rather do them on your vise or on the bike?
So my rule on that is if the dent is in, if it's in front of the forks, I do it on the bike.
Yeah.
Front fenders, if it's a Harley. So if it's a Harley, regular front fender, they're easy as pie. You just take a regular dent tool with a soft tip on it. You just sneak it up there and use the tire to leverage off of, and it literally takes you 5 minutes to take a dent out on a fender. Yeah. So they're pretty basic, pretty easy. The ones that get hard is when they put those demon bells on their forks,
Yeah.
and they hit a pothole and it puts that bell ring right in the middle, that one you're going to have to take it off. You're not going to be able to get your tool all the way up there, and it usually leaves a sharp little crease where the bell is. That's a pretty common one. So when
and
you
it's
get
almost
it
dead center.
exactly dead center,
Yeah.
so those I usually do them off. You can let some air out of the tires to maybe get your tool up there. If you don't have a tank vise, you can maybe do it that way. But yeah, that's pretty much the scenario. That it's still difficult to mount a tank vise or a fender. I still struggle with it. It's always a little bit of a challenge to do. So I'd rather do it on the bike.
Yeah. Now, what do you see the future? I know, and a lot of these guys, I hope they know who you are. And Daniel's super informative on tools. He'll see a tool and he's like, well, what if we add this? Or what if we make this change? So it's nice for me as a tech in the industry to sit back and see the additions. Perfect example that a lot of people got to see this year was the tire tower from Edgy Tools.
Yeah,
that little handle finger piece made all the difference on that tool.
exactly. Yeah, my whole, I guess my mission is I want to contribute to our industry in as many ways as I can. But tools are my passion, and I'm always looking at helping any tool maker out. And in most cases, unless it's my idea from the very start and they're working with me or something like that, then I'll ask for some kind of compensation. But if they're just coming out with a prototype, I'm usually one of the first ones to get contacted. I'm there to help them out. I'm there to test out the tool, to make it better, to see maybe who they can partner up with for manufacturing, who they can partner up with distributing. Because the one thing I've learned in the tool industry is we like to be creative. We're creative people, and tool making is creative. Selling a tool is not creative and is not fun. And guys quickly find this out when they build a website and they build a store and they have to start shipping. And pretty soon they're not doing dents anymore. They're doing packaging. Don't do that, guys. If you're going to design a tool, find somebody to distribute like Anson or somebody that tool fits for, and let them sell it. They've already got all that figured out, and they have worldwide distribution, and they've already got it all in place, and you don't need to get into that. Design tools. And that's what I'm here to support those guys and make things better. And I see a tool and I'm like, okay, can it be, my brain automatically says, can it be better? Can it be better? Mm-hmm. And what can I do and help people out? And
you're an open book. You know what I mean? We were at Anson and I was explaining to you this hook tool set that I'm working on with Blem. And you were like, well, why don't you add this? And I'm like, it's such a simple fix, but you were so fast. So if you see Daniel and you have a question, he's an open book. You know what I mean? He's definitely, with all the avenues that are out there, it's so much easier now to communicate in this.
God, I so appreciate that, man. Because I really want to help people. It makes me feel good when I see somebody's idea come to fruition and get out there and get in people's hands, make our industry better. Because I'll tell you, I don't care. The one thing I hate when I hear usually older dent techs say, tools don't matter. Bullshit.
You know what? The innovation these days, it's crazy. It's better on your body. Perfect example. And I brought this on a million times, and I am good friends with John. But this tool right here, this new Dent Reaper rod, I use every day. Every single day. And it's legitimately two tools in one.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's I said I was working on a bedside today, and I sat back and I said, what was I using before to fix this? Like, this was so easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't even explain it. And I called John and I said, hey, thank you. And he's like, for what? And I'm like, this tool I'm buying for every guy that works for me.
Yeah.
Because it just works.
Yeah. It is a great tool. I called him too. And I go, I want this in a ratchet handle.
You know what's funny is I talked to him yesterday and I said, what about a ratcheting T handle? And he goes, well, I don't think A1's done that yet. And I'm like, you're right.
It needs to have a large handle on it though.
Yeah.
You know, if it's going to be ratcheting, I want it to be pretty significant. I think that's the way to go with that particular.
It limits you in a door with these.
Yeah.
So James is saying the first dent he ever tried to take out was on a Harley tank he got from a junkyard. It was almost enough to rethink his decision in learning the craft. We've all been there, James.
So it's funny is, you know, I started off slow and just working on tanks. And then, I had, an experienced dent guy come down and he wanted to spend a couple days with me and me train him. And I had a scrapped Harley tank and I put a dent in it and I go, okay, watch me. And I'm like, boom, 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 boom. In 5 minutes, it was gone. Right. I go, okay, I just want to see where you're at to evaluate you. So I put the same dent in and I go. An hour later, he's still struggling with it. And I'm like, huh, interesting. I didn't realize that I had built-in muscle memory in the years that I had been doing dents. And what happens with tanks is the metal is obviously a lot thicker. So when you're looking for your tool, it's so easy to not find it because the metal's barely moving. And so you have to train yourself and train your eye to get more sensitive, which makes you a better dent tech for other stuff. And I realized quickly that that I had built in some muscle memory. And then I started thinking about some of the little techniques I did. So one of the techniques I do is I call it a jab push, where it's more of a jerk kind of a motion where you're just kind of like, and you hit it and push it just for a second really hard. And that's what I do in once I find the tool and I know where I'm at, then I'm pushing in that kind of emotion. And I do that on trucks, you know, when you're working on a truck bed where the metal's really stiff or your leverage point is way out, and you're just, you know, your pushes aren't going anywhere. I end up using that jab motion a lot. And it's a technique that I didn't realize I had and didn't know how to quantify it until I compared myself to somebody else.
Do you use glue much?
Oh yeah. Every dent I do, I start with glue.
Now, are you slide hammering it or are you mini lifting it?
No, I'm using the grominator.
The grominator. Look at that. Here we go. So it's funny because we were at Christina's house at Anson Open House, and I was like, man, I just want to come out for a couple days and really just watch. I don't even have to touch a tool. I just want to see some of the techniques that you're using. And Daniel says, okay, come.
Yep.
So I'm still haven't made it.
Anybody wants to come hang.
The good thing is I have Shane that is coming out to Sacramento for some training. So I'm going to try to get you guys hooked up. It'd be good for him to, you know, come up and see what a real dent guy can do.
So the grominator's new tool I got coming out with, it's a joint venture with Todd Zimmerman at Carbon Tech. And I had been using what they call a pogo stick or a hustle stick for years. It's an auto body tool. It's basically a pole with hooks on it and a chain, and the other end has hooks on it. And like if you're on a front fender, you leverage off the tire. And I utilize this tool because you have complete control You have angle control. So what angle you're pulling that dent at, and you're doing it slow and controlled. And it's a freaking fantastic tool, but it's heavier and I mean, it weighs, I don't know how much it weighs, but it's very, very heavy and cumbersome to use. So basically we took that concept and transferred it over to Carbon Tech's Hail Rod. And we made a couple simple little attachments. So they're going to be simple attachments that go onto his hail rod. So now his hail rod does multiple things. And basically it's just got a rubber foot on one end, and then it's got an adjustable sliding hook on one end with a chain on it. And then that chain can hook onto any tab. If you're using the serpentine, you just use the Kiko T slot, that purple T slot, slide that on there, and the hook will hook onto that. And you've got complete control, slow, and you can see exactly what you're doing with it. But all these guys using these bridge systems, I laugh at them, because I'm done glue pulling by the time they get that thing set up. I'm so much faster. It's seconds.
I can't wait for that thing to come out. We had Todd on last week and Chad, and they were hitting points on that. And for me, as a big Smash guy, it's going to be a huge addition.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that I don't know if you've got your hands on any of the Cam Auto. Cam Auto, their glue tabs are frigging phenomenal. And they have these eye hooks. So there's no tool to use with it except for mine. So they sent me some of their tabs and one of their hooks, and their hooks goes onto the chain. And so I have a regular hook that's going to come with the tool, and then I have the Cam Auto on the other end of the chain. So I have both things available, and I'm using those Cam Auto. They're gray tabs. They have wings on them that flex. And you put that on any big smash dent, it ain't coming off.
And it conforms. You know what I mean? It's kind of, it's almost like it's hinged.
Yep. They're beautiful, man. Used it all day today, and using it with my hog glue, and it just perfect marriage. Works great. Simple setup, fast.
Hog glue right here.
And right now it was 100 degrees today where I'm at. So I switched over to the Hog Black, and that works great during the hot weather. And, but it comes off clean. You know, I was so frustrated for years about using other glues, and it would take me 15 minutes to peel the glue off. And with hog glue, it comes off in one swipe. So it makes you, everything's about speed for me. It's like, I'm a one-man show. I work here, and I'm working 8 hours nonstop for the whole time I'm here. And if I get a cancellation, then I go switch over to motorcycles. And but I don't got any downtime at all. And everything's about speed and how fast I can glue that dent, because that means I can get one more car in that day, and that makes me more money. My P&L will probably rank up with any hail guy, in my opinion. For what I do a day. It's because I'm fast at these big smashes.
And another thing I can say about Daniel is, if you ever want to buy a tool, that guy's got them. You should see his array of tools. So if you want to question about a tool or want to see what it is, you're the guy.
Yeah.
You were the guy. And we talked, we were live on Facebook, I guess a couple months ago. And we were trying to figure out the number on your hammer, and we were trying to figure it out. And you're like, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Is it your jet ski racing number?
Yep. That was my number plate on my jet ski.
Yes, I was right.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So Todd is, he's big into motocross and racing and everything. And he goes, "What do you want to call this thing?" And I go, "I have no idea, man." And he goes, "What was your racing number?" And I go, 144. And he goes, "That's it." And I go, "Okay, that sounds good." I go, "But don't tell anybody. Let everybody try to guess what it is. That'll be fun to watch." Yeah, so we did that.
He didn't tell me. He didn't
Yeah,
tell me.
yeah, we just
but
wanted people to guess, and I did mention it on one of my podcasts, and someone figured it out. Was it you that figured it out?
I don't remember. I listen to all your guys' stuff.
Someone mentioned it on one of the posts, and I was like, yeah, you're right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So
funny.
you just did a hole straightener shootout, and I don't know if everybody caught it. So in a quick run through that, what is your favorite hole straightener?
The one I probably use the most is the one you're holding right now. I'll be honest. That's the one. Yeah. That's the one I kind of gravitate to, but I've been using the Stucky one a lot too, because the Stucky one is like a vice grip, and you can clamp on. And so I found some situations where I clamp on and I'm pulling with the thing.
Okay.
Like I had an antenna that the guy swiped off. His garage door swiped it off.
Exactly what I did today.
And so I was using the Stucky one because I actually pulled the edge up and I pulled the dent out with the thing, as well as, reshape the hole. So it did double duty on that one. But actually I have the Ultra one in my truck for mobile because it's nice and compact. And then I actually grabbed the VIP. I use them all in the VIP because you have that dial and you can just dial around the hole. You can do the same thing with the Kiko one. But my Kiko one is over by my motorcycle. So that's what I use on all my motorcycle tanks, because you misshape the fuel opening. So that one's there. And then, I have them all placed at different places around my shop. So it's usually when I'm grabbing what's nearer or whatever. But they all work. They all have their own things. And that's what I really wanted to show, is what each strength was in each of those tools. So somebody can say, yeah, that one fits for me. And I don't want to make somebody decision for them. I want them to decide for themselves,
Of course. I actually did that today on a roof of a Chevy Traverse, and it ripped the antenna off. And that's why I had it pretty quick to grab. But I like this one because you can kind of rotate around without removing it. So
it's longer than all the other. Yeah. It gets into there. There's been some tight areas that that thing's gotten into that has saved me. So definitely.
So I know you're always a tool innovator, and I just saw you came out with that double D hanger. So that looks super cool.
Yeah, I got that right here. This little guy. So, basically what I tell tool makers is, if you have a challenge or problem, solve it. People come to me with ideas. Hey, what do you think of this idea? I go, what problem are you solving? And if they have to struggle with that, then they don't got a good idea. So you got to be solving a problem. So one of the problems I wanted to solve is I wanted a hanger that I can utilize in a lot of different areas. The main area I wanted to do is on truck beds. I do a lot of dents right in front of the wheel well. And the older truck beds, they're wide open. There's nothing to leverage off of. So that's where the idea came from. And that's where this tool really shines. But today I was using I had a Dodge dually, and it had a dent way up on the dually, took out the tail light. And I took this guy in there. I posted a picture of it today on PDR Tool Time, and it was perfect. It was the perfect tool. I just hung it on the inside of the lip of the opening of the tail light, and it was perfect leverage, and got my and using my dent stuff, the smaller diameter dent stuff, carbon fiber extendable rod. And it was perfect, man. It fit right in. It was a pretty narrow little space, fit right in there. Got very little flex with that tool, because I first stuck a steel tool in there and it flexed. It had too much flex. So I took that carbon fiber, slid that in there. It was perfect, and took the dent out. And so the combination of this and the dent stuff worked perfect.
So that silver end actually clips onto like the pinch weld and you tighten it, correct?
Correct. Now, if you got a pinch weld that's going to show, literally take some, I have some 3/4 inch Gorilla tape, and you tear off a piece of that, wrap it first, and then clamp this on there, and the paint will be fine.
Okay.
So guys that are out there, oh, it's going to ruin the paint, just put some even duct tape will work. Some simple
Tessa
duct
tape would probably work too.
Tessa tape would be fine too. Yeah, any tape you got, basically.
It's actually bigger than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be smaller.
Well, I told them I wanted to stick a carbon rod through it, because when I'm working on truck beds, I use Todd's Carbon Tech rod.
So do I.
I just shorten it up, because you get zero flex with that thing. And when you're working on a truck bed, those things are thick metal, and the less flex, the less work you have to do with it. So I wanted it to be able to do that. And honestly, he did the open end thing, Romero, and he came up the open end idea, which I thought was great. When he showed it to me, I was like, yeah, that's perfect. And this clamp, what's really cool about it is the more force you push down on it, the more it tightens the clamp. So you can tighten it pretty hard with the little screw, but the way it's designed, it's got a funnel in the design. So the more more pressure you're pushing, the more it's grabbing and tightening down. It's really a great idea.
So the open end, what's the use of the open end on that tool?
And just in case you got your carbon rod and you may be using the double end that won't fit through the hole. Okay. So you can use a carbon rod that if you use it's got two ends on it, and if you've got extensions on it, you're not going to fit it through this hole. That way you don't have to take the tips off and slide it through. So that's the idea.
PDR New York says he's got a prototype made of a cart. He would love to connect with you, Daniel. So how can people reach you? Of a cart, I guess, like a tool cart.
Oh, I'd love to talk to him. Yeah.
So how can people get a hold of you?
DentDynamics@gmail. You can call me. You can PM me on Facebook. You can FaceTime me on Facebook. I take anybody's calls. You know what? When you call me, don't say I'm sorry to bother you. Just don't even bother, because you're not. Just call me. The one thing, the biggest problem I see right now in the industry is tool organization, number one. But nobody's made the perfect cart for the Dory Dinger.
I've been using my Go Bag, but it doesn't work for everybody. And I was actually looking, and I've reached out to a couple of manufacturers and prototypes on bags. So a friend of mine is a rep for Dakine, and they make really good snowboard bags and motorcycle stuff bags. And bags are expensive to make. Prototype to make the Go Bag that I wanted to come out with was $15,000 up front just for a prototype. So I think a small cart would be a home run. I'd buy. I use the Beta cart, and I love it just for glue. So that's my glue pulling setup. Is I literally just roll that out and go.
The challenge is everybody's got a different rig. Yeah. So that's one of the challenges. And if guys are thinking about this, I think a cart should be made for a guy with a regular truck with a tonneau cover.
Yes. That
can fold up. And I came this close last week. I found on Facebook Marketplace, I found an old gurney for an ambulance for sale for $200. And I thought about it a little bit too long. I PM'd him, and he goes, "Yeah, we sold it." I was like, damn, I should have jumped on that, just
Yeah.
because I was wanted to take that thing apart or modify it in some way to see if it would work. But that's kind of what I think.
So we got Scott Grimes in here of the
Hey, Scott.
Grimes paddle. This will be
Yeah.
one of our giveaways here, and probably next month I'm going to get Scott on here and go over his little history. Have you used this paddle?
I haven't. I saw it at the show. I don't use paddles, to be honest with
Makes
you.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not a paddle guy.
I love it. I had an issue. I did a review, and my issue was when you had if you're a hail guy, it's sitting there. This magnet knockdown, it's a brilliant idea. I love it. The problem I had was I put it in my pocket like this, and when I would pull it out, it would slide out in the bottom of my pocket. So I reached out to Scott, and he's like, let me send you another knockdown. I've changed the knockdown magnets. Huge difference.
Nice.
Fixed it. And this just slides. Obviously, I chain tip. It's a screwable tip. And I use it every day.
And that's exactly why if you got a tool out there, don't be in a rush to get it to market. Too many guys out there I see rushing to market without getting into some testers. You got to get your tool in some, different guys' hands. You want to pick a hail guy, you want to pick a door dinger, you want to pick a big smash guy, and let them test out your tool and abuse it and see what they find, what could be made better, and that sort of thing.
So what do you have new coming? I'm sure you have something new coming for MTE or something you'll debut.
Actually, I got something that honestly, I've been working on this for 23 years. So a lot of people don't know. I actually had a tool company in 1995. I started my own tool company. And that's when I realized that I enjoyed designing tools. I didn't enjoy selling tools. So I only stayed in the game a few years. I was selling most of my tools I had a big client over in Japan, and I was selling all my tools to this guy in Japan. And then the Japan market fell out. And that was about time that Dentcraft got in the game and Ding King got in the game. So some big hitters got in there, and I looked at Sid and I looked at his tools and I was like, oh boy, that's going to be hard to compete with, because he was making some nice stuff back then, right out of the get-go. And I knew what he had into each one of his tools. And in fact, I was like mesmerized by, how do you make this tip? And what are you using to dip your tools with? It was stuff that I hadn't figured out yet. And so I decided to get out of the game. But I made a tool back then, and I had the guys that I was using were forging my tools. And what I learned, forging a tool is just the same way a samurai sword is made. A samurai sword is forged, and that's what brings its strength and its longevity. And so I had these forged tools, and they were very expensive to manufacture, and I couldn't compete with these guys making whale tails out of flat stock, that were laser cutted. But I knew that the forged tool was way, way better. I take a laser cut tool and put it in a vise. I can turn that handle almost halfway, a little bit past halfway, and the same length, diameter forged tool, I will only be able to turn that handle a quarter turn at the most. So what does that do? You're getting more positive push on that dent. And it feels way different, feels way better. And I knew forging was the way to go. But for years, I've tried to have this tool made by different places, and they go, oh yeah, we can forge that. And they would send me the tool, and I'm like, nah, it doesn't work. Not right. And the material was the other thing. It had to be made out of spring steel. They tried to make it out of stainless steel. It didn't work. And I finally, I started talking to Blim because I started playing with their whale tails. And if you guys don't have a Blim whale tail, then you don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
If you have a Blim whale tail, you'll know what I'm talking about. It should be round stock. So the shaft should be round, and then it flattens out into the whale tail. That tool will blow away any flat stock. I don't care who you are, you know. It will blow away all the other whale tails. And I told them that I wanted this tool made, and they said, we can do that. And so Mark made me a set of tools and sent it to me, and he goes, well, tell me what you think. Right out of the box. I'm like,
yes.
you freaking nailed it. I mean, he goes, what changes do you want? I go, none, just the length of one. I go, make the smallest one shorter, and we're good. He goes, really? I go, yeah, you nailed it right out of the box. I was like super, super happy. So
you could tell literally as soon as you opened the box and felt them, you knew.
Oh no, I put them to work.
Okay.
Yeah, but it just felt like, so my old tools, I still have them. They still, I panic when I can't find the tool. It's one of those tools, you know. You're like, oh my god, where is it?
Yeah.
Did I leave it in the car? You know, you panic. So it felt just like that, and then I started using. Now I don't even use my old ones. I'm just using these, and that really tells you. I mean, the handles that Blim makes are way better too.
Is that a ratcheting handle, or is that the pistol grip?
It's just a pistol grip.
Okay.
So here it is here in my colors, orange and black, Harley colors. And it's a balloon tip.
Okay.
So basically, I designed this tool for when you have big soft dents under a brace. And you don't always want a sharp tool. You got a soft dent, you want more of a soft push to it. And that's what I designed this tool for. But what I quickly realized is when you're twisting it, because it has more surface space that you're leveraging off of, especially if you're leveraging off the edge of a brace.
Yes.
You know, when you're on a whale tail, that tip of a whale tail will slide off that edge constantly. With this, you got even more pushing power.
Yeah,
this thing,
like
this thing is so strong, so strong. When you get a dent on the edge of a door panel, you can slide this thing down to that dent, and you can push off a nice soft dent right against that door edge. And this thing is so thin, is just like your butter knife at home. And then
is it bendable?
Yes, the larger ones are. But it's heat treated. The flat part is all heat treated. So the bendable part starts with the round shaft. So it's not bendable until you get to the round shaft. But because it's round and the edge is fairly sharp, this thing pushes through glue like butter. I mean, the best area that I love this tool is when you get a door ding in a rear door of a Yukon, where the window only rolls down halfway, and you get a dent right behind the brace. This is the perfect tool. I mean, I take out door dings. Now, what guys have to understand when you start using this, the more you twist, the sharper it becomes. So I actually take out super sharp little dings with this thing. You just have to keep twisting it, and the sharper it will get, the less area that it will actually contact, and it becomes like using a whale tail. I don't even use whale tails. I mean, very rarely. I mean, I'll use whale tails on aluminum, but on regular metal, I'm only using this tool. So.
And I almost think that'll be useful for when you're on that edge of that brace. And usually you have to go to the larger size whale tail. It doesn't quite fit in there, but you can just barely get it. I think that'll be super useful.
Yeah. When guys get to try this and see how much leverage you have, you'll be like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Well,
now,
the good thing is we're going to try it at MTE at the PDR Tool Time booth.
Yes, you will. I will have, and I will have sets there. I will only have a limited amount of sets. So if you want one, you better contact me right away and get on the list. You can contact me now if you really want one.
I want one.
Okay. You're on the list. You're first. You're number one. The other thing, so guys that are into Steinliner and using their tools and their philosophy, what I learned was this is kind of like a Steinliner tool in the philosophy. So if you get a crease under a dent, under a brace in a door, you can walk this tool just like a Steinliner tool, like the killer whale. It's the same motion pretty much. And you can walk down a crease and take it out without a bunch of stitch marks. So
now it is what kind of material did you say it was?
This is spring steel.
Okay, so it will rust.
Yeah.
It'll be something you have to oil or coat with.
Actually, okay, tech tip. Ceramic coat them. Take your ceramic coating from your detailer and rub it on all your tools, and it won't rust. Yep. Dun dun dun.
Come on.
Yeah.
You could have charged for that information.
I should have, huh?
With your logo on it, you could have sold it. Look at this.
Yeah.
Rust be gone.
There you go. Okay, so edit that out.
let's get into MTE a little bit. Let's get into what you guys have going on this year. I don't know if they caught your podcast. If not, let's get it out.
So MTE in Las Vegas is the Dordinger version of MTE, is how I'm thinking about it, and I want the guys to think about it. Yeah. So we have had MTE in Florida for years. It's hail, focus and hail oriented, and that's great for the hail guys. And I think what you're going to find is you're going to find a bunch of new guys at this place that's never been to an MTE from the West Coast, that are all door dingers, and these are going to be new buyers, fresh eyes, and I think they're going to be buying a lot of product. I think you're going to see a huge sales, and that's what I'm expecting there.
When do you fly in?
Tuesday.
Oh, you got a couple days. That's nice.
That's Mike made me. Mike goes,
nice.
I need you there Tuesday. I'm like, why? What are we doing? He goes, just get there. I'm like, all right. Whatever.
So you guys are having a booth, I understand, with a car there that you're able to try tools. So explain that.
Yeah. So Sheldon, the owner, the main guy that's running it, I pitched this idea to him last MTE, and the guy's great. The guy's fantastic. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Really? That easy? So my idea was to have a booth with just a couple cars in it. So guys are buying tools, they're walking around doing nothing, right? And we needed an area for everybody to go to. Guess what? Now you can grab your tool. Sorry about that. Now you can grab your tool and go use it right away and test it out. So we're going to have a couple cars, and it's going to be the gathering place. It's going to be where everybody's going to be hanging out, because what I see this is everybody gets to share their tech tips and their techniques and try out a new tool and show the new guy how to use this tool that never seen a Steinliner tool. Now they have something, and that, it's great when guys have a hood that you can kind of play with, but you got to work on a real car. Working on a hood doesn't really do it for me anyway.
Is it your rental?
We're going to rent a couple cars. I want to get a truck.
Yes.
Trying to get a truck is one of the things, because I do a lot of truck beds. I probably do at least 1 or 2 truck beds a day. We're really truck oriented here in Santa Rosa, and I'm using the Carbon Tech rod. I'm using the Dent Stuff carbon rod. Are two of the tools that I use all the time. And when you use one of those, because guys go, well, I don't need a hail rod. You use one of the hail rods, on a long bed, and you have a dent all the way up to the cab. and you stick this carbon rod all the way down that truck bed, and you take it out with one hand, you start laughing, and you're like, oh my God, yes, I need a hail rod.
And it's got so much power. You know, when I bought the Carbon Tech, I looked at Todd and I said, he's like, what took you so long to buy it? And I said, I'm not a hail guy. You know, it's expensive. It's definitely an investment. But the first year I went back to MTE and saw Todd, and I shook his hand, and I saw Vicky, and I said, I owe you guys some drinks. And he's like, for what? And I was like, that rod made me so much money.
Right?
It really did.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I started shortening it up and started using it on, quarter panels.
Yeah, that 6-inch adapter is an awesome idea.
Right?
That is an awesome. And what that adapter is, I had it on the show last week. It's a 6-inch piece of carbon with 2 holes in it. And what it does, it allows both ends to go in to where you can shorten up a short rod.
Exactly.
There's so many more options to it.
And that's what I love about Todd. Todd is
another open book.
He listens to me. I like when people listen to me. And I give him an idea, and he goes, "Okay, let's do it." And I'm like, "Oh wow, that was easy." And Todd's a he's one of the tool makers out there that is just golden. Like James Lee and him and Stuckey, those are just good guys.
We're very lucky, and I've said this for the last few weeks, and just in the customer service end of it too. If you have an issue with a tool, you send them a message. There's never questions. Never how did it happen, or why did you do that? What's your address? I'll send you a new one. Right. How do I fix this? I had a couple months ago, I had James Lee glue gun, and it wasn't hot enough, and I pulled the handle, and the lever got loose because it popped the spring off, and he sent me detailed pictures like within 15 minutes on how to fix it. So, and that is not like that in a lot of industries. In a lot of industries, it's not like that.
Yeah. Our industry is totally unique. If you're a dent guy out there listening to us right now and you haven't been to an MTE, I'm sorry, you're losing money. You're losing money like you can't believe. You need to get yourself to a show. One, to see how great our industry is, because it really does shine there. I mean, guys getting together and sharing ideas, and it just being able to go around and grab a tool and hold it in your hand is all the difference. It's not, you can't shop for tools online.
I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, you got to have it in your hands. You
got to
play with it.
You're looking at it, and you're like, well, 18 inches. I don't know. I have the worst time.
Even guys don't know what 18 inches is.
No. So, even if you go and just look at what you want, and then you know what to order. And I tried to explain it to my wife, and I said, we didn't go to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning every night. And she's like, oh, you guys are out drinking, partying. I was like, no. I said, I drank like 3 drinks, and we talked for 10 hours after the show. It's just a big mingling and talking and BSing, and it's a great time. It really is.
Yeah. I'm bringing my wife and my kids for the first time, and I'm a little worried that they're going to just like, oh my God, how can you keep talking about dents or tools?
I hear, same thing. Hey,
so
it's because we're passionate. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The passion end of it. Anything else you want to bring to the table? You've always got ideas and.
Well, one of the things, if you've guys have got my hammer out there, so I designed this so you can PM me and I'll give you the link, so you can buy this. My lighting is horrible in here. Sorry for that. So this is a little foam clip that sticks onto the hammer. And then this is a belt clip.
Come on.
So this hangs on my belt. That's where my hammer is.
That's a great idea.
And so my hammer never touches the ground because it's, a finely polished instrument. I hit paint with this thing. I don't want it ever hitting the ground. So it's always.
And that's stainless too.
Right.
The head of it is.
Yeah, this is 12 ounces. So your normal blending hammer is about 6 ounces, roughly. Pretty much all the hammers out there weigh in roughly around 6 ounces. So it's twice as heavy. What and I found that there was a market for a heavier hammer. And like when I'm working on a motorcycle tank, I wanted a heavier hammer. And when I'm working on truck beds, I wanted a heavier hammer because I want to be able to swing and move some metal fast. And so
and it
that's
has
why.
the foam grip on it, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
imagine that. A hammer with a nice, comfortable grip.
Why would we do that?
Oh, that drove me nuts, dude. I mean, everybody out there making all these hammer, and every time I grab their handle, I'm like, this is the most uncomfortable thing I've ever had in my hand.
Well, see,
Freaking
everybody
put
wants
a
to
handle
look
on
cool.
it.
Everybody wants to look cool. That's all. They want it to
Well,
look good. You're getting old, is what it is.
I modified every single one of my hammers and put some kind of grip on it. And it wasn't until Hayes Freeman came out with his ratchet hatchet.
Yeah.
He came out with his that foam handle that's on his is amazing. And I'm like, hey, dude, can I buy a bunch of those foam handles from you? He goes, yeah. I bought like 6 of them, and I cut them up into different sizes. I put them on every single one of my hammers. Yeah. But this rubber on this is super dense. So the way this goes on there, it comes expanded, and you put it on, and then you pull this ripcord out of it, and then it shrinks up around this thing. This thing is super dense. When you put it in your hand, it's like really, really solid. It feels really good. And then a rubber ball on the end, so you can rock it in your palm. But the rubber grip is long, so you can choke up on it and use it like a regular hammer. And everything's about speed for me, and so I want my hammer. So it's a short hammer, it's a long hammer, it's a blending hammer. The face on this thing is a big face.
It's massive.
And you hit a eyebrow with this, it won't leave any dents in the eyebrow. It just flattens out the eyebrow, and you can literally close your eyes and smash an eyebrow down, and it'll flatten it out, and you won't have to go back and clean it up hardly at all.
Now, is that heavier than the Bryce Rockhill hammer?
Mine's a little bit heavier than his. I think his comes in around 10 ounces. But his handle is shorter. And he's got a big dome on his. What I didn't really like that big dome, because if you hit a panel like a rail, for instance, it works. You know where his hammer really shines is on aluminum, especially on a reverse curve or concave.
Yes.
On aluminum hoods, his hammer shines. I mean, just rocks it. I love it for that. But
Don Cavanaugh says it's a great hammer.
Yeah, Don's a great guy. I love Don.
He is. He's got the A team over there right now. Look at that. Look at that lineup he has. I mean,
nice.
I can't believe the guys with, the lineup he's got. You can't ask for a better group of guys over there.
Yeah.
I don't know how much work they're getting done, but it's a great group of guys.
Right.
Yeah. So what are you excited to see at MTE?
I really want to see a lot of new faces. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a lot of new guys that have never been to an MTE. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see a big presence from the West Coast. I've got 2 guys, my local dent competition, are going this because I got them to go. So I'm looking for a lot of new faces, a lot of California guys.
And they can't say it's too far because I'm coming from Maryland. So I'm as far as you can get.
But Vegas is cheap, If
it was $111 one way for me to get there.
Yeah, that's cheap. I don't care where you're at. Vegas is always cheap to fly there. And it's relatively, the hotel's same price as Orlando. And the Mike Toledo has a timeshare there, and he says the place that he having it, he goes, it's just like the Caribe Royale. It's going to have that same atmosphere. It's going to be just like the old days. So I'm anticipating it to be a really good show.
How about tool wise?
Tool wise, there's a few new things that I've seen out there that guys are trying to get ready for the show and don't know if they'll show up there. They're trying really hard to make it. And there's some pretty cool things. Mobile Tech RX, I'm really excited about them. They're going to be launching the detail part of their software, which I want to get my detailer on. I have actually hooked up my detailer with them to help them dial this thing in. And if they get that, that'll be a big help for me in my shop. And we'll be all on the same page as far as estimating goes. So
I'm excited for B&D. Mike's got a lot of new stuff coming out. So
yeah, Mike's a great guy. He's a great innovator. He's making a big difference in the accessories. Dave Streen has some things in the work. I don't know if he'll have it ready, but I'm hoping big time. So there's going to be some good stuff there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good Mark. We actually finally wore Mark down. It looks like Mark Blem's going to make an appearance. That's exciting. Took a little while.
And for all you guys out there that want to know why I'm into tiki, I'll take you guys to a tiki bar. There's 2 great tiki bars in Las Vegas. So I will introduce you to a good tiki drink, a authentic tiki drink. Just hook up with me and we'll go and do that. And we're going to probably, there's a Bahama Breeze. So we'll go hit Bahama Breeze for dinner sometime. We'll go out to dinner, do that.
Sounds like some fun.
Yep. It's going to be good times.
Like Dent guys in Vegas is dangerous though.
Right? Yeah, I'm bringing my wife and kids, so I've got to behave.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, going over some of your new venture with tools, and I appreciate what you do for the industry.
Yeah, you rock, dude. I love what your vibe, what you're bringing. I love hearing your backstory and that you're a car builder and all that. We're both on the same page. We both got our passions in the right place.
Yeah, definitely. But I appreciate it. It looks like we're out of time.
Yeah.
And if you guys need to reach out to Daniel, reach out to him.
Get me on Facebook, PM me.
Get out to him, and certainly for that card idea, see if you can come up with a good card for us. I'll be the first one in line. So
right. Definitely.
But no, man, I appreciate it, and I appreciate all you guys watching the show.
Cool.
And remember, guys, next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, keep it real. See you guys.
Bye.
Stay on, Daniel.